1. We're live.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 302 of the Co-op Podcast. I'm your host, Richard Bailey Jr., and today I'm joined by Mr. Gary A. Swaby. How's it going, Gary?
Going very well, thank you very much. Given the current circumstances that we're all in, I'm doing quite fine at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, that's good to hear. And we're also joined by Mr. Edward Velazquez. How's it going, Ed?
What's going on? Pretty good considering, what's going on. Staying at home, so I figured I'd jump in this.
Yeah. I think right now, as Gary said, yes, we all are stuck at home. So I definitely hope that everybody stays safe. Just lay back and relax. And hopefully we will put on a entertaining show for you all today. We want to give a quick shout out to Mr. Anthony Frasier. He actually did say that he does plan to be on next week's show. So stay tuned. He'll be back on more shows. Pretty sure of that. And I definitely want to take a moment to thank everybody for checking out the last episode, because a lot of people told us behind the scenes they was happy to see that we've again started to do these podcasts. So we will try to remain consistent just so long as there is things to actually talk about. And apparently there is a lot to talk about because there's a lot of news that went down this week. So we're going to get into that. But before we do, obviously we're going to let y'all all know what we have been playing. So Gary, I heard that you have been very, very busy playing all types of games. So I'm going to put the spotlight on you first.
Yeah, I've been playing this pretty amazing game that came out not too long ago. It's called Overwatch. But yeah, I'm still playing that game, of course. It's like my go-to game. But besides that, I haven't really, been playing too much recently. I did revisit a few games here and there. Like I played some Mass Effect 2 and 3. I also played a bit of Final Fantasy 7, the original, just because I want it fresh in my mind for when the remake comes out. And that's pretty much where I'm at right now. I'm just waiting for the remake to come out because we all know how long I've been waiting for this game. So, and it's almost here. And also they've in the UK, people have been getting their copies early. So, there's a chance I could get it before the actual release date because, Square Enix kind of eased up on street date. So there's a chance, a lot of people are going to get it way ahead of time. Some people already got it, actually. And Twitch is banning people for streaming it right now. Because Square Enix doesn't want anyone to spoil the experience. So yeah, that's what I'm waiting for right now.
Rest in peace, Cloud. Nah, I don't know. I never played Final Fantasy 7. I'm fucking with y'all.
That might really happen. They might change some stuff in the remake. You never know. I have a feeling there's going to be I have a feeling there will be some huge twist that doesn't happen in the original. But what was you going to say?
Just for the record, this is a completely exclusive game, like not even timed. It's like forever a PlayStation exclusive.
No, it's not. I thought they said it was coming to Xbox at some point in time.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Only timed exclusive.
All right, I wanted to clear that up.
Although I will say, when Ed made reference to rest in peace to Cloud, well, maybe not so much, but definitely rest in peace to all of your hard drive space. Because I have seen the articles talking about it's going to be like 100 gigabyte download for this game. So you'll have to confirm that, Gary, because you'll probably have the game before, any of us do. So we'll see about that.
Yeah, and with that being said, we better not get just 1 terabyte hard drives on the Xbox One X. The Xbox Series X and the PS5. Like, we need something bigger than that because games this generation are already 100 gigs. So,
Oh yeah. Well, I hope so. but we'll have to wait and see about that. All right. I guess I'll go next really briefly. I have been playing Resident Evil 3 Remake. I'm currently writing up some thoughts on this game right now. What I can tell you is that, as someone who grew up playing these video games, because I always enjoyed the Resident Evil games, especially I remember Resident Evil 3 and just how dangerous Nemesis was. A lot of times I was playing that game, walking through the house environment, and then you have scenes where Nemesis busts through a window and busts through the wall. That's happened multiple times. So obviously going into this game, I was trying to figure out how they were going to up the ante. And I would have to say there are pros and cons to this game. First and foremost, I think they did an excellent job on Nemesis. Yeah, is a lot more, from the moment you start playing the game, you are pretty much, running away from Nemesis. And there are points within that game where you actually you cannot run, you have to fight them. But I think they did a good job on Nemesis. Now here's where I get into some of the cons, is that, the game is very, very short. Now, I know the original was short, but, playing this through on just the regular difficulty and then going back on the hardcore difficulty, I mean, this is a game that you can complete within 2.5 hours. If you know everything that you need to know, you're able to evade certain, zombies and stuff like that, you can get through this game pretty quickly. And they actually have a trophy for that as well. So not just making that up, but you can complete this game relatively quick. I mean, it's not a game... Because, I was surprised when I started playing the game. I started playing it right after we finished the last episode of the co-op. And within the next day, because I stopped, obviously, I played for a couple of hours and then I went to bed. The next day, I got up and I started playing, and I was literally done with the game within about another hour and a half. So it definitely is something that you can finish quick, and maybe that's all people want. There's not really any replay value to it because you can play as Carlos and Jill within the same storyline. So if you want to replay it, it's going to be only because you want to get the trophies on a higher difficulty setting, or you want to try and do a speed run where you can get that trophy if you beat it for like 2.5 hours. But really, there is not a lot of replay value to it. To add on to that, they have the Resident Evil Resistance multiplayer that they've also added as like a bonus thing that somebody can play. When I started playing this, there was no one else that was on the servers. And I know when they released the beta initially on PS4 and PC, it did not work, but it did work on Xbox. So, I haven't really had a chance to get into any matchups with any other players yet. So for right now, I could say this is definitely a game that you need other players to play it, because if you go into it, there's a lot of different tasks that you have to do. You go into a room and then you have to find pieces to a puzzle to unlock a door to go to the next room. So you're running around a facility, there's always zombies, so on and so forth in your way. You have to pretty much do all this. And if you try to do it all by yourself, you can get up to a certain point, you're going to need assistance. Because I was able to start playing it, I got through 2 stages, and then when I got to the third stage, that was when it was a lot more difficult, and I needed some assistance. So what I can say so far, it's an okay experience, but I will have to I have to play with others to give more of an in-depth opinion on it. So definitely look for me to talk about that in more detail, because as I said, I'm actually writing some stuff up about the game. But what I can say for a remake, if I was to compare this to Resident Evil Remake, Resident Evil 2, clearly Resident Evil 2, I think it was a lot better. This one, it felt like it's a little bit rushed, a little bit quick. Doesn't mean it's a bad game, but it is what it is. More of an action-oriented game, less about the puzzles, which is fine, but it definitely does feel like it's not quite as good as Resident Evil 2 Remake. But with that said, for anyone that is out there that is enjoying the game, that is playing it or has already finished it, and you were satisfied, that's really all that matters. It's about your opinion, what you think about the game. But I'm just telling you my own personal opinion. It's good, but is it amazing? Is it great? Nah, man, I don't think so. But it is what it is. Check it out and look for my thoughts on the game later this week.
So this isn't a
So
good.
so basically, don't buy it at full price.
Oh no, I 100% don't think you should buy this at $60, and that's no shade on Capcom, but nah, man, $60 it needs to go. If I'm going to spend $60 on a game, I got to get more time and more replay value out of it as opposed to going about it this way. So I would not recommend you buy this at $60. If you want to rent it, perhaps maybe you can go to Redbox. I mean, I don't know, but I wouldn't pay $60. I would definitely wait for the price to drop on this one. Yeah, just my personal opinion. Unless you're balling and you got a ton of money, then go ahead and spend your money however you want to spend it.
So this isn't a good Resident Evil to start the series with, right? To get into the series.
No, no, no. I would say, if you want to start the series, you probably should just start with the original Resident Evil remake that they did years ago, and then go into Resident Evil 2. I mean, you could check out Resident Evil 0 if you want also, but I just think, Resident Evil 1 is such a classic. I would just say you should just start there and then work your way up. I will say that I did see a couple of reports talking about Resident Evil 8 is going to get announced next year, and it's supposed to be like a major difference from what the series is right now. I have no idea if any of that information is valid or what the difference is going to be. But I will say that I'm okay with Capcom continuing the series, but I do not want them to remake Resident Evil 4. They need to leave that game as is, because pretty much that view, the whole viewpoint of the character Resident Evil 4, that is what they were using to make Resident Evil 2 and 3. So I don't want them to touch Resident Evil 4. If they want to remake any other games, fine, but leave Resident Evil 4 alone, please. That's what I would say. But yeah.
Enough.
But as I said, a decent game worth spending $60 for. I would say no. Nah, man. I can't endorse that. But it is a decent game, and if you're a Resident Evil fan, definitely check it out. Just don't spend full price for it. That's all I'm saying. All right. So I'm gonna go to you next, Ed. What have you been playing?
All right. Speaking of taking up a lot of hard drive space, I downloaded NBA 2K20 from Game Pass, and that game takes up 80 gigs, dude. I had to delete some shit just to download it. But Rich, I don't really play NBA the 2K series like year to year, probably like you or some people. So I mean, it was on Game Pass, so I figured, oh well, this is my opportunity to play, a basketball game, my first basketball game in a long time. So I've been playing that. I started off the NBA career mode. I made my character, like I did the face scan thing.
Oh yeah.
And my character looks like me. I'll give them that. He looks like me. He looks like a weird version of me, but he looks like me. We should make that the thumbnail too. But yeah, I've been playing that. But man, Rich, the career mode is horrible.
Yes, it is. Yep.
It's just too many little cutscenes, like for just like the dumbest shit ever. Like, oh, I'm meeting my agent at a restaurant, and it's like this like, why do they make the job so hard on themselves and like make these long cutscenes that I'm just skipping over? Because I just decided I'm gonna skip over all this shit. Like, just get me to the basketball court of me progressing, from college basketball to, making it to the NBA. But I don't know. I'm not really enjoying that career mode. The game itself, I think it's fine. I haven't ran into any like game breaking glitches or anything, or any type of horrible glitch or bug. So I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's a basketball game. I'm not, looking for the greatest experience ever. So it's all right to me. Like, I'll give it like a B minus. But yeah, other than that, I actually just got done or I finished Ori and the Will of the Wisp.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah.
game is fantastic. I literally beat it 100%. But some of the achievements are glitched. So when you beat the game, you won't get any of the end game achievements. I don't know. It's a bug. Apparently, they're working on fixing it. But
Oh.
speaking of bugs, this is a game that suffers from bugs because that frame rate when there's a lot of shit going on screen, that frame rate drops and it's really noticeable and it's really bad. It doesn't happen often, but it happens frequent enough to be a problem. But it is what it is. I enjoyed my time with that game um, enough to get 100% on it. So it's just something that I guess maybe with a patch they'll fix later on. But yeah, that frame rate's pretty bad. Um, and other than that, I guess I want to take some time to talk about Animal Crossing.
Oh.
Everybody's playing this game on Switch. Uh, I always hear about how great Animal Crossing is, but I don't understand it, guys. I don't understand the hype of this piece of shit game.
Whoa, 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 whoa,
I
whoa.
don't get it. Every game is the same thing.
Is
You're
it?
always in a little. Yes, pretty much for the most part. You're always fishing. You're always finding fruit and picking fruit and doing all this little dumb shit. But one of my major issues with this game is that two people two people cannot have a full Animal Crossing experience on one Switch console. So let's say I have one Switch at my house, and my brother wants to play Animal Crossing after I already made my file. There's content that I have access to because Animal Crossing considers that my island. Once I made my file on that Switch, that's my island. Anybody else who plays that Switch and that game, they're just living in my island. They're just taking part of my world. And the content that I already accessed, they don't have access to. They're just living in my world. And I think that's the most bullshit thing you could do. Like, I don't understand how Nintendo gets away with this shit. And I know people are gonna be like, get your own Switch and shit, but like, yeah, maybe that's a good response to a person like me. I'm freaking 30 years old. I could just go to the store and buy a Switch. It ain't no thing. But there's kids that when I was their age, they're probably dealing with this shit. Imagine they can't buy their Switch. They're just freaking teenagers. And they don't have access to the full game. Like we've all shared a console with our brothers here, and imagine getting like not being able to access content because your brother already beat that level or he already collected that whatever, and you can't do it no more. Like that's how does Nintendo get away with this shit?
So Nintendo's basically saying that everyone who wants to play the game in the household has to have their own Switch.
You have to have your own Switch. Yes, if you want full all of the content of Animal Crossing, you need to have your own Switch. Yes, and I think that's bullshit, and that's why I don't support Nintendo because they're anti-consumer.
Okay, let me ask you guys a question as well. So everyone keeps talking about this game, right? And I still personally don't even understand what it is because I've never, I've never played Animal Crossing, so I don't really know what it is. I just hear certain things that you can do in the game and everything. But I want to ask you guys, do you think the popularity of this game falls in line with the fact that we're all self-isolating? Like, is that why it's so popular, just because it came out at the right time? Or do you think that it would have been successful regardless?
I think it would have been successful regardless, but I definitely think that because everybody is in quarantine status right now, that I guess people are more they're more open to like voice their opinion on it, or they're more sharing their stuff with the game. Like, oh, look at what I made. I made a freaking blanket with Mega Man's face on it or something. Because that's what that's what a lot of the game is about. Is just you creating shit, you designing your own little room or whatever. And people do some like creative stuff, but like we've seen this on the last Animal Crossing. We've seen that on the Animal Crossing before that. Animal Crossing is the same fucking game every single time. I don't understand it.
Uh-oh. Well, I haven't had an opportunity to really dissect the game or research it, but I do agree that, because of the current situation, I think everybody definitely is maybe enjoying it a little bit more because, you can have your own island, your own space. So I guess, yeah. But I do agree. I don't really understand the hype around the game. But hey, I've already come to acknowledge that I am not in their target audience. At least not for this game. Most of the Nintendo games, I'm not in the target audience. So it is what it is.
Yeah, neither am I. My relationship with Nintendo's been over for years. Like even games that I think I would like, I can't bring myself to play them. Like the last Zelda or the last Mario, I can't do it.
Yeah. Hey, I fully understand that. Well, yes, we have a special guest that has just joined the podcast, Mr. Anthony Frasier. How's it going, Mr. Frasier?
Chilling, man. Chilling. Just woke up ready to flame. ready to flame something, man.
Uh-oh. Hey, I fully understand that. So, on that
Let's
note,
give him a topic to flame.
well, he already has a topic. No, so I think we should talk about that right now, and that is the Phil Spencer IGN interview in which he talked about the Xbox Series X.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I'm ready.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna go to you first, and then I'll go to Ed and Gary and myself. What are your thoughts on what Phil had to say?
I think what Phil had to say was great. It showed that Phil really has his pulse on what's going on in the gaming industry and what's going on among fans. I just think that's important. I think it's very interesting, that Phil approached this basically telling people, like, if you listen to the interview, he approached this telling people like, yo, it's all about the price and it's all about the games. He said, yo, he felt really good after seeing that Sony was weaker. That was a good thing, a good feeling for him. But I think he wants the focus to be all about games and all about the price, which is funny. This is the funny part, because online, a lot of these PlayStation fanboys, if you notice, there's this real thing like Xbox isn't going to be cheaper. Xbox is going to be $100 more expensive, $100 more expensive, $150 more expensive. And they keep saying that shit. And I think the reason why is because I think secretly PlayStation fanboys want the price difference to be a benefit for PlayStation. You know what I'm saying? They want this shit to be more expensive because they know that the more price-friendly console will sell more. But Phil Spencer said in the interview that they plan to be very competitive with the pricing. He said that. He said he has the support of the CFO and the CEO, which he only reports to the CEO. The other thing that PlayStation fanboys, they think they slick, yo. I think they slick because they argue up and down. Oh no, the power difference between the two consoles are equal. The power differences are almost little to nothing. So why you keep talking about the price is going to be $100 more expensive then? If the power difference is almost little to nothing, why in the hell would the Xbox be more expensive? So that's when you get them caught up in the loop. You know what I mean? They start malfunctioning like them niggas in Westworld. You know what I'm saying? They don't know what to do there. You know
It's
what I'm
those
saying?
extra
They're like,
teraflops,
wait,
bro.
he right. Yeah, like, because my thing is like they swear up and down the power differences are nothing, but then they say so quickly that it's going to be $100 price difference. How the fuck can that be if they're equal? So you got to choose one. Either you're a weaker console or the other. It's one or the other, man. So that's all I had to say about that.
So Gary, I know that you were very vocal the last time we had Cap on the show. You have any rebuttal comments to say about that, or what are your thoughts on what Phil had to say?
I mean, there's not really too much to say about price. I mean, the way it looks to me at the moment is like both companies are waiting to see what the other is gonna do in terms of price. Like, so they both want to be competitive. They both want to compete. And you know what this says about Phil Spencer is they are in a position where they can compete for sure. So I think we're gonna see them get very aggressive in this next generation. And like during this whole interview, Phil Spencer seemed confident. So I think they know. I think they know a lot about what Sony's coming with and what they have. So you know, I ain't got too much to say about that. I mean, that's cool, right? That's business right there. So some of the other notable things from that interview that I noticed was what should I get to first? So first of all, the scalebound question was hilarious. I find it funny that people are still prodding about that, asking about scalebound. And Phil Spencer, like, he gave a look like, oh, why are you asking me this question? But yeah, I don't think we're going to see that game at all. So it's clear that, you know, they're kind of distancing themselves from that situation. And, I mean, I don't know. I don't really have much more to say than that unless somebody else brings up something. But it seems to me like Microsoft know what they're doing. I think they know what Sony has coming, and they know that they're in a position to compete. Oh, I guess the other takeaway is the fact that Phil Spencer seemed confident that they will be able to launch the console this year. Of course, he said that, you know, they will prepare just in case things do change and they're unable to release it this year, but it seems that they're very confident that, you know, they'll be able to do that. And when it comes to Sony, based on certain things that certain rumors that are circulating about Sony, I feel like they might end up delaying the PS5 until next year. And I'm not sure how much of it will be to do with the current crisis that's occurring. I think that they know that they might be in a vulnerable position, so they might use the current crisis as a reason to kind of delay and maybe try and change their strategy a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what Xbox knows behind the scenes, but they seem, you know, very confident. And that's if you're a hardcore supporter of Sony, you probably should be, you know, scared right now, because this might be a dominant generation for Microsoft.
Now look, I'm gonna jump in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump in, and I'm gonna say I don't think Sony is scared. I think Sony is still confident. I think Sony is still gonna sell a shit ton of PS5s. I do agree with you. If they do push it back, then I think that there's no way they push this back and not make adjustments to the technology. If they do push this back, I do fully expect them to make this a more expensive console. The only problem is that's more R&D, and that may actually be a longer pushback than we want. So just beware of that. If PlayStation gamers want a more powerful console, you might be asking for a year, even longer year than you think. So keep that in mind. But I think Xbox is super confident because I think I know Xbox strategy with the pricing. I think they're gonna offer the subsidized consoles with Game Pass. So what I think is gonna happen is if you get Game Pass, like if you buy like a 2-year subscription of Game Pass, then or you subscribe to a 2-year subscription of Game Pass, then you get the console for like $100 off or $200 off. I think it's gonna happen like that. So just look for them to use Game Pass to help them be flexible on pricing.
Yeah, they do. That's another option they do have, the Game Pass thing. I wanted to also say, regarding Sony, like if they do delay the console and everything, people have to be prepared to know that Microsoft is likely going to be like 3 to 5 million units ahead of them in that generation. If they launch a year later or something like that. Well, maybe not that much, but it will be a few million. The gap will be a few million. So that's going to be an uphill battle for them to climb as well if they delay the console. Because we know everyone cares about numbers, right?
That's true. I mean, that's true, but that depends. Microsoft might not have no killer apps when they come out. You know what I mean? Like he didn't seem like it seems like Microsoft is willing to launch this console without a big megaton video game with it. And that's telling by itself.
Yeah.
And honestly, I agree with it. I mean, I feel like if PlayStation gets pushed back, then Microsoft could release this and just, Game Pass the shit out of this.
That's true. So, Ed, you have any thoughts on the interview? Did you get a chance to check it out? Phil Spencer?
I checked out the first part, but they were just talking about like what could happen with this quarantine stuff and would it delay, games or the console itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't really watch the entire thing. But from what I saw, I agree with whatever y'all said. He seems confident that they can launch this year. I don't think they would launch without a game though. So if Halo and Xbox Series X don't come out on the same day, I just don't see that happening. They have to come out on the same day.
Yeah. That's a very good point. That is the killer app that anybody can play on Xbox One or Series X. So yeah, but we'll see what else they launch. The only point I was going to add, I agree with pretty much a lot of what was said about the interview. Phil is very confident. Now, I have to give Ryan McCaffrey over at IGN some credit because this guy tried to get literally every question answered, knowing full well Phil wasn't going to answer the question. Asking about the price, asking about the launch games, all this other stuff. It's like, there's no way in hell that this guy is going to announce this stuff from home on a little video podcast that's on YouTube. That's not going to happen. Obviously, when they do that, it's going to be on a much grander scale. Perhaps when they have their E3-esque digital event, that's when they're going to talk about this stuff. But yeah, for everything that Phil said, the other thing I give credit for, because Ryan McCaffrey was trying to get Phil to talk bad about Sony, to say, oh yeah, so what did you think after you saw the PS5? Phil said, I feel great. But with the whole thing with Sirius X is that we have been thinking about this since 2016. So they have clearly been working on this for a while. And I'm pretty sure that Obviously, they had a lot of issues this generation. They're taking all of this as they're, they using all of those instances as teachable moments so that they have a much better launch with the Series X. So that's why I said, yeah, Phil sounded very confident in the interview. And yeah, I'm very curious to see what they do. I do agree that the subsidized plan, that is definitely the strategy that they're going to do, because I saw that they were starting to do that with the Xbox One X. They were offering that to people who couldn't quite afford the system. But if they had got access to Game Pass, then they would definitely get a significant discount. And there's like a payment plan that they could have been put on to actually buy the plan at a much more affordable rate. So I definitely think that is a smart strategy, a smart way for them to go, and that definitely will hook in a lot more people, as opposed to just outright selling them the console at the top tier price. You're basically giving the consumer options as to how they want to go about getting the system. So smart all around. But yeah, I have nothing negative to say. I'm very excited, anxious to learn more about the Series X and see what Phil has in store for us as the year goes on.
Yeah, Phil's he's a very smart guy, because he knew they had to start working on the Series X in 2016, because they knew they already lost this generation. They were getting their butts kicked. And
it's funny you mentioned that, because I find it, which also lets me know he takes everything to heart, because I recall that he was in an interview, and I believe it was Ryan McCaffrey that asked him, or somebody asked him, so is Xbox going to win? And he said, yeah, they are going to win, but he still was under pressure to even give that answer, because he knew that they have a long ways to go to get to become like at the top of the game again. So obviously, I'm pretty sure he remembered that moment, and because he brought that up on this interview, when you say, yeah, you asked me, am I going to win? And I said, yeah, this is what we have been thinking about. So obviously, everything that happened with this generation, I'm pretty sure that him, as well as several others, took to heart what happened, what the perception was of Xbox One. And that's why I said I definitely expect them to deliver a far better product and just have a much better generation overall when they launch the console later this year. So, yeah, it was a great interview, though. I have to give them credit. And we'll see what comes from this, for sure. So, any other thoughts on this topic before we move on to the next?
Let's get to the real ether.
I mean, I think it's my only thing is like, yeah, I just think, I just want to say before we end it, like, I think sometimes people, they don't realize just how much power Phil Spencer has. And so I think sometimes we look at Phil Spencer and we just like, oh, it's just Phil Spencer talking. Like, he only has to answer to one person. Yeah, Phil Spencer is the executive vice president of Microsoft. He got promoted back in 2017. Like, so if you look on Microsoft's website, Phil Spencer is part of the senior leadership. So there's nowhere else for him to go as far as in the company except being the next CEO. Which likely might not happen, or it might happen. Who knows? We don't know these things. But the point is, there's nowhere else. So, like, when he says something, it holds a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? When Mark Cerny says something, I don't know how much weight that holds. You know what I'm saying? Like, that could happen. It could happen. There's still questions. When Phil Spencer says it, he's literally the decision maker behind the acquiring studios, how much budgets are going to be allocated here and there. Like, he's literally the decision maker. So I just think it's important that we see the distinction about the access and the transparency of Xbox and Microsoft versus Sony. I don't even know who's in charge. Who's in charge of Sony?
Jim Ryan.
What he look like?
He's a British dude.
Saying, I'm not trying to be funny, but you know what I'm saying?
He's a British dude. Like he's like, an older guy, but he's not old, but he's like an older guy. But he's British, which means which means we're gonna kick
I-
ass.
Oh, whoa, ouch.
I ain't gonna go there. But what I will say is, you know what I'm saying, like Microsoft, like clearly Bill has a bigger role within Microsoft than this guy has within Sony. And so I'm just saying, like, we take it seriously when Phil talks, so that's all.
That and I will say that is a very fair point, because we know Jim Ryan got into that position not too long ago. I feel like some of the other people before him definitely feel as though they had a bigger presence at the company. So obviously this is going to be his time to show what he can do for PlayStation. But one quick comment that I will make, I know Anthony made the comment of not really knowing how impactful Mark Cerny is. I will just say this: if you want Mark Cerny to explain something to you, I hope that you have a dictionary handy, so that you can understand all of the big words, the terms he's using, and I hope that you have got enough rest, because if you're not ready for that, you will fall asleep on him. I mean, he's a very intelligent guy, but the explanation of all the stuff that he's talking about with the system and stuff, I just don't think the average consumer really understands or cares. All that they really care about is how much does the system cost? What what am I getting for my money, so on and so forth. That's it. So simplification is the name of the game, and I don't think he simplifies anything when he explains it, but it is what it is. But yes, I'm not taking anything away from the guy. I'm just saying, yeah, it's a lot to process when he's talking about some of this stuff. So
yeah, and like I just want to say as well that I don't think it's like over for Sony. Like, there's still a chance they can come out on top still. It's just the fact that the way things are looking, it seems like Microsoft has the advantage when it comes to specs and technology. But the one thing that Sony can rely on is their audience's attachment to their software. Like, they have some very powerful titles that they could reveal that people will be closely attached to and will purchase the system just for that selection of games. So they can still rely heavily on that. And if I was them, I would be trying to get the support of at least some of the third party companies and everything. And also they need to absolutely make sure that they retain that deal with Activision for Call of Duty, because if they can keep that exclusivity deal where they get exclusive content on Call of Duty before Microsoft does, then that will be another ace in their hole. So there's some things they can do.
Well, I think it was said before that they definitely were going to do a lot more third party deals. So I think that Call of Duty thing will remain. I think stuff like Final Fantasy, like Ed mentioned earlier, Final Fantasy VII, that deal, obviously, I feel as though that was a deal that Sony did to make sure that they keep it on their console a lot longer before it even has a chance to come to Xbox. But yeah, I mean, I agree. The third party deals, and of course, the strong first party lineup of games, the IPs they have on there, that's what they have that they can definitely counter. So we'll see what happens. But until we learn more about the PS5, and I'm talking about some more concrete information, not talking about a seminar being conducted where we're talking about everything in high terms. No, I want to see the actual system. I want to hear about the price. Until we learn more about that, I have to say Microsoft, so far, they've given us a hell of a lot more information about Series X. So we'll see what happens.
But here's the thing, right?
So on that note, let's move on to the next topic. And since we already was talking about Sony, let's talk about the biggest news of this week that I know Ed couldn't wait to record a podcast because he said he has something to say about this. The Last of Us 2 has been delayed indefinitely. So I have something to say about this, but I want to go to Ed first because I'm pretty sure he has something to say about this.
I just want to laugh.
What's so funny about this?
because people have been waiting for like years for this, and like, yeah, you made a good point. Like, there are PlayStation franchises that people are always gonna want to check out. God of War, like even me, I'm not the biggest Sony fan, but I want to play the next God of War. I want to play Uncharted. I want to play Last of Us. But shit, we gotta wait like 5 years after a game just to get it. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. Like, these Sony games take fucking forever, dude. Like, something's up with the way they make games or produce games. It's like they don't have a schedule for anything. And I get it in this case, Corona, like, this is, whatever the case may be. If they want to blame it on the whole thing that's going on around the world, I'll take it. You get an easy out. But, like, this game should have been done.
Yeah.
Last year, so, like, what's the issue? And
Well,
people leave your studio mid-game, like, there's just always something going on and throughout the development of a Sony exclusive.
But
yeah.
they didn't say how long it was delayed, right? Because
No, they just said it's delayed indefinitely. So they didn't give a release date as to when this is coming out, and something similar to, because I know I recorded a Walking Dead podcast last night with Dana and Adam, and they, because of what's going on now, they didn't even finish the post-production work on the season finale. So they said, well, that episode is delayed until whenever. We don't have a date for that. So there was no date as to when this is coming out. It just said, I guess 2020, you can assume, but for now there's no release date. So
yeah, I mean, right now, like we all know that to produce a video game, there usually has to be some crunch involved. Like, these teams have to crunch to work out all the kinks, all the bugs and everything. And right now it's going to be hard to do that, because you have people working from home, and it's probably harder for them to collaborate and share files and textures and, all these big files that they use in the game and everything. Like, it can't be easy to share it around, and their workflow is going to be affected. So, I'll give them that one, and say that that's a legit reason to delay the game. And I mean, if they said indefinitely, I think that's a smart word to use, just because maybe it's only going to be delayed like 3 months or something like that, or maybe it's going to be delayed until 2021. Who knows? But at least now that they have time to, kind of work with it, and people aren't going to be anticipating it at a certain time. So,
yeah.
So it's smart to kind of use that open phrase, I guess.
Well,
but I think sorry, Rich, real quick.
Go ahead.
To me, like, I feel like at this point, we're already talking about PS5. Like, just say it. Just say it. Last of Us, PS5.
Yeah,
just say it.
That went through my mind too. Like, when I heard about this, I was like, okay, they probably just want to make this a PS5 game, like launch game or something. But I don't know if they can do that. Like, wouldn't that give them negative press if they were to do that? Because people have been waiting for this on PS4, and of course, if they do delay it till the PS5, it will still come out on PS4. But it's marketed as a PS4 game for years, so I think that would upset a lot of people.
But I feel as long as you can deliver that, like a PlayStation 5 version along with the PS4 version, I don't think there's a problem for it. I mean, I know Sony, fans are like probably the most vocal people on the internet, I would say, but whatever, like, whatever.
Wait. See, this is the hole that they back themselves into, because PlayStation is not really a cross-generation. They're not ready to do cross-generation. I don't think they want to do cross-generation. Whereas Xbox, they don't mind. Xbox don't mind coming out with an Xbox One game that also comes out on Xbox Series X and stuff like that. At least, especially at this time. And so, if like I agree with Ed, like yo, just drop it on both systems. Do a PS5 enhanced version, and just do a PS4 version. But you know, the fanboys will be upset because they'll be like, well, it's keeping people from buying a PS5. So why come out with a game that's going to keep people from buying the next system? But this is the power of having an ecosystem, and this is why having an ecosystem is so important, because you don't worry about shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with Ed though. Like a lot of people want to play this game. Yo, just drop it PS5 enhanced version.
And it makes the PlayStation 5 release a little more exciting because up to now there is no Sony exclusive game announced for PlayStation 5. There's nothing, just the third-party games. So like, what better way to at least spruce up the launch of PS5, make it a little exciting, something. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree 100% with what the both of you said. Well, yeah, pretty much what everybody said. The two quick points I wanted to make in regards to the delay. I was not surprised it got delayed because I figured with the subject matter of this particular game and considering what's happening in the world right now, I figured they were going to announce this was going to get delayed a long time ago, because there's another movie that Ed is familiar with, A Quiet Place Part 2. That movie also got pushed back for the same reason. So that's why I figured, well, yeah, they're definitely going to delay it. And I joked about that before, but that's why I wasn't surprised when it actually happened. And I think it is smart because, again, a lot of people are very sensitive to what's happening right now in the world. So if you don't want to remind them of something similar, even in video game form, I understand that. So that's fine, whatever. But I will say this, and that is that in regards to how Sony has handled this game up to this point, I don't think they've done a particularly good job of this, because I recall they had a preview event for this game earlier this year. And right after that preview event, they announced the game is dropping on this release date. Not even a full week later, they say, oh, I'm sorry, but we have to delay the game now until May. And I thought to myself, I'm pretty sure at that preview event, they already knew there's no way that this game is coming out at this release date. So we need to. I wouldn't have made any announcements, or if I was going to announce at that point, I would have said that at that particular time, okay, it's coming out in May. But instead, they said no, it's coming out in February, and then that changed. So that's why I said I don't really think they have a clear focus, and they're taking time to think about these ideas regarding launching the game and announcing when it's coming out. So I do agree with Gary, though. It was good for them to say it's going to be delayed indefinitely, because now you don't have to commit to a release date at all until you know that it's the right time to release the game. So that was smart. But prior to that, I don't think they did a good job of communicating the message about when this game is coming out. So we'll see. And the last point that I wanted to make is I definitely agree that it needs to come out on PS4 and PS5. And I think, yes, if it came out on PS5, it definitely would help the PS5 launch a lot more, because a lot of people in the past, we've seen it, whenever Sony drops a new console, if they're happening to drop an Uncharted at the same time, that right there is an instant console seller for somebody. So I do think this could be a similar situation. That is one reason you can definitely convince somebody to pick up a PS5. So I do agree. If it is going to get delayed, that's fine. But it definitely should come out for both PS4 and PS5. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, the delay, totally understand the delay. And as Gary mentioned already, yes, people not having access to files, not being able to work closely with each other, obviously that's going to impact the production schedule and the amount of work that you can get done. But yeah, I just think they made a good decision to say indefinitely, but we shall see how they approach this moving forward now as to when it's actually coming out. Yeah.
Yo, remember when everybody was saying that spring 2020 was going to be like the shit for Sony?
Oh yeah.
Wait, when did people say that?
So much for that.
I believe those same people said spring 2020. Man, it's gonna be fire. A lot of games. Most of those games got delayed. Cyberpunk 2077 got delayed, and yeah, it's a lot of games that got delayed that was supposed to come out around the springtime. So it is what it is, but it's all good. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody here is going to pick up Last of Us Part 2, right? Gary definitely
Yep.
is. Yeah. So whenever they're able to bring it out, so we'll see.
I guess so.
When it's the Sony greatest hits.
Oh, whoa, oh, wow, ouch! That's a long time. You're gonna be waiting a while for that one.
I
Yeah.
do wanna I wanna go out on a limb and make a prediction. I feel like the next Horizon might possibly be a PS5 launch title.
Yeah, I definitely see that. And 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 and,
I
and,
can see
and
that.
to go along with that, I'm also gonna make a prediction, Gary. Uh, you probably laugh when I say this. Prediction is that Ghost of Tsushima is going to get delayed also, and that's going to be pushed out even further because that's supposed to come out in June. They haven't said nothing about that game yet, so I
Yo,
would
that
not be
game, they were
surprised.
showing off that, bro. They were showing that game off in 2017, man.
Yeah, yeah, and the Final Fantasy, y'all remember that too, right? That was a game that got announced, I think, in 2015. It's only just now coming out this upcoming week.
5 years.
Yeah.
That game was announced when I went to E3, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah, so hopefully they will get better about that in the future.
You know what? This is something we gotta talk about. We gotta talk about this
What's that?
because Ed touched on it briefly, but like PlayStation is known for its great, fantastic looking, spectacular single player games. But that shit comes at a cost, yo. Like, I don't think gamers realize this. Like, that shit is at a cost. And that cost is what we're seeing right now. Like, and what we've been seeing throughout the PlayStation life cycle is a lot of delays, pushbacks, hurry up and waits. And when the games do come out, of course they're fantastic. Don't get me wrong, they're fantastic. They're groundbreaking. They're earth shattering. But they should be with the amount of time and effort and patience that goes into each of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's something to talk about, you know what I'm saying? And so, and I think that's something that, you know, when Xbox gamers talk about how they want to kind of have first party titles, etc., the same way, I think what Xbox is trying to do is find a balance. Like, I think Phil Spencer wants certain studios doing that kind of stuff, but then he wants other studios working on AA games. And I've heard them say this, you know, AA games, which games that don't take forever and always in the development cycle, but then also are fun to play and still, you know, still making an impact on the culture. And so I don't know what a AA game, like if you guys could show, you know, I heard that a lot. What are some AA games you feel were really good in your opinion? And do you think Sony can ever do this?
You know, I know we shitted on Fat Princess the last time. But Fat Princess is a AA game for Sony. Like, I'm not hating it in that regard. Like, but you're right. Like, they do need these smaller titles. Not every Sony exclusive has to be this grand, big AAA title. And I know, someone might bring up Dreams or whatever, but even Dreams was met with like development hell because it took forever for that game to come out. And
you're
in
right.
the end, was the response
AA
even
games?
worth
They be
it?
mad experimental. Yeah, my bad. Go ahead.
No, and I was saying, and you know, in the end, you know, Dreams came out, but was it really like? Did it like? There was no buzz for it. Like,
well hold on.
Actually,
well, hold on. Hold on. Gary said that's his game of the year.
Oh no, I didn't say that. But but I have been seeing a lot of people, like whenever I go on Twitter, like every few days or so, I'll see someone share something that was made in Dreams. So,
but you
at least that game has produced a lot of shareable content, and people are creating like amazing things in it.
And I can respect that. 100%. It's what I've seen from people that people have created. It looks like, I was like, damn, they could do that in Dreams, but it's not really that. It's the sharing factor that I speak on when I speak on Dreams. Like, yeah, I see people share stuff, but I also been seeing people share shit from Animal Crossing, and Animal Crossing didn't go through development hell 5+ years, whatever it was, for Dreams. So like, I'm like, what I'm saying is like, was it like worth it to like put all that amount of time, all that amount of effort, like, and they're probably not even like breaking even because games are expensive as fuck. So I mean, I don't know much about the business part or the business side of that, but I don't know. I know Animal Crossing didn't take that long to make, and it's still getting just as much recognition as Dreams.
So I do have a question, but I'll let you go first, Gary.
Yeah, since you brought up Nintendo, because I was gonna bring them up too, and I think it's very similar actually to what Nintendo does. Now, we don't always know a lot about their development process, but I do feel like a lot of their first party stuff is very spaced out, but people still appreciate that. You know, people still appreciate and eat up the Nintendo exclusives and stuff. So I think it's just, you know, it's I don't want to say it's like a Japanese thing, like a Japanese kind of style of producing games, but I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with it, because I mean, that's why all of these systems have third party games also, to kind of carry up, like to fill in the gaps between the big first party releases and stuff like that. And Xbox does the same thing too. Like, you know, there's a lot of third party stuff on there, and I mean, it's not like they're dropping exclusives every single month or something, but I will say that Xbox does do a good job of producing AA style games like Ori, for example. And you know, they do have a lot
Bleeding
of like,
Edge.
Yeah.
I will say they might be better than Sony at doing that, at doing the AA stuff.
But I'll even come at Microsoft and say that some of these AA games don't push the needle at all, though. You know, like Bleeding Edge is bleeding shit. You know what I'm saying? And so I could be critical. You know what I'm saying? I could be critical. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, you know, there is a balance. There has to be a balance of like games. So if you're gonna do AA games, like, you make sure these games are fun to play and like they really do engage and bring an audience and really do that. But if you're gonna do AAA, make sure you're putting your all into that too. I just think that Microsoft didn't have a balance of that, especially towards a lot of the Microsoft life cycle. Actually, a lot of games that were hyped up at E3 turned out to be AA games. You know what I'm saying? What was that game with the robots, with the chick who can make the robots turn into different
Recore?
things? Yeah, Recore. They hyped Recore up like it was like some fire, dude. Recore was not fire.
I would disagree. They did not hype it. Because first of all, hold on.
Hype that.
No. All they literally did was show a fucking announcement trailer. They never made a gameplay demo there or nothing. They just dropped the trailer.
Nah, man, you always get on Sony for Haze and what was the other one? Like,
don't bring that
Haze.
So you have to eat that one. You have to eat Rico.
Haze and Lair. Come on, bro.
Nah, ain't no L's been taken like those two games, bro. Those are special kind of L's taken. I'm mainly saying, like, I just feel like they, you know, like they hype these games up and then they be like, all right, $20. I'm like, what? This is like, once I see a price of a game like $20, $30, that's troubling to me. Like, if you're gonna put it on Game Pass, do that, but don't sell the game for $30. Because then that's telling me that there's no real value in this title. You know what I'm saying? That's at least how I'm perceiving it as a consumer. And so, I don't know.
Wait,
Man.
so you're saying that a game has to be $60 to present value?
No, I'm just saying that Microsoft doesn't see value in a game if they're charging $30 or $20.
So I have a question.
When's the last Microsoft game that exclusive that has dropped that was like $30 that's still fire right now?
Sea of Thieves? I don't know.
Oh, hell no.
Sea of Thieves has a player base, man.
He said $30. He said it was fire. I have a quick question to ask because you mentioned that Bleeding Edge is a bad game. But I have to ask this question. So we know Ninja Theory is working on Bleeding Edge, and at the same time they're working on Hellblade 2. So the Hellblade 2, I think, is obviously a bigger. I think that game is going to obviously do a lot better than Bleeding Edge. But is that an example of them releasing one game, maybe of a, I guess, because that's a multiplayer game, whereas Hellblade 2, that's a single player game, and that's the game that they were hyping up as coming to the Xbox Series X. So do you think that Hellblade 2 game could potentially also end up being another AA game that doesn't quite it isn't quite as good as advertised?
I hope not. I hope not, bro. Like Microsoft, like Phil knows what's up, man. And my thing is, maybe they dropped a lot of AA games late in the cycle because, you know, look, they already knew that they lost the console war technically. Yeah, they kind of lost already, so they're just probably thinking, well, let's release some decent games, but not like let's save all our money for like the big shit we about to drop later. So I'm hoping that was the thinking behind it. Because that's sort of like how I was kind of thinking. I'm thinking like, oh, maybe they don't want to put too much investment into. They still need games to come out, so they're not going to stop dropping games. But at the same time, they're like, let's just drop games that make sense from a spreadsheet perspective, meaning like, yo, multiplayer, free to play, you know, shit that builds our ecosystem up a little bit and don't cost us too much money while we try to get, you know, our big, you know, titles out for the next console. So I'm thinking that's the approach that they took with this what we're doing. So we'll see, man. We'll see. I just think that next cycle, I don't think they need to stop doing that. Like I saw a rumor that said State of Decay is gonna become a AAA game the next console. And I just don't see that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see that, you know? So I'm just like, yo, like, they do need investment though. Gamers need to see like, yo, that Microsoft is willing to put money behind. I don't think they need to stop doing AA games, but they do need to showcase that they're willing to put some investment behind some of their first party titles. And then as far as Sony is concerned, I just think more AA games while still delivering the good shit that they're delivering already. Like, Sony doesn't have any problem with releasing these first-party titles. It's just that they take so long. Like, the Ghost game that we talk about?
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, they was just talking about... They talk about this shit in 2017. And it was playable. It wasn't even a trailer. Like, this shit was playable in 2017. Yo, we just now about to touch it. That's crazy. Like, so, we got... Something got to happen.
So Ghost is. I'm expecting Ghost to be polished as hell. Then, all that time.
Hey man,
Ghost got to be the most polished game we ever seen, dog. Like, if Ghost got anything unpolished, yo, we should riot. Real talk.
Yo, man, art takes time.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. That's good.
But does time equal quality?
Well, Gary will be able to answer that question firsthand when he plays Final Fantasy this upcoming week. And if it's not good, I'm pretty sure he will have a lot of negative things to say.
Yeah, Ed brought up a good point. Good point, yo. Does time equal quality? Because there's a lot of titles that took long times to build and still came out trash.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah, that does happen, especially in the gaming industry. I admit that, but I don't know. I think right now Sony has a formula that they're sticking to with their first party titles, and it's like ever since the first Last of Us game came out and exploded, like they've kind of followed that formula of like, you know, the overly dramatic cinematic kind of, you know, first person, well, not first person, for single player experience.
Yeah.
So, you know, they have that format. They know their audience loves it, and that's kind of what they've been sticking to, and so far it's working. So if it's working, sure, it takes time, but hey, you have games like Fortnite that exist now that are, you know, you might look at that game and think that there's nothing complex about it. The graphics aren't that dope or anything, but people play that game every single day, you know. So you have games like that in existence to carry these consoles until, you know, the next big megaton game comes out. So I don't see a problem with it right now. I mean, if a game does come out broken, then yeah, I'm gonna be right there with everyone complaining about it because you spent all this time on this game and it's broken. You know, like that's not a good look. But you know, as it stands now, the formula is working. I mean, and I'm also one of the people who's not super hyped for Last of Us 2, by the way. But,
Oh, whoa! I
but
definitely didn't know this. I didn't know that.
yeah, like I'm not as excited for this. I don't even think I was excited for the first one, but I did very much enjoy it. But yeah, I mean, I just think their formula is working right now, and the audience wants it. And you know, once Last of Us Part 2 is out, they're gonna begin the whole cycle again with the next God of War, probably. So
Yep. Mm-hmm.
and that's just what it's going to be. But let's just hope that with the PS5 they have enough in between to carry them, because that's what they were riding on this generation. They had enough third party support to carry them in between, you know, the big titles, the big exclusive titles. So that's what's going to make or break them with the PS5.
Yeah. Very good points. Okay. So, any other thoughts before we move on to the next topic?
A shout out to Shenmue 3.
No comment.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. So Gary, you said that we have a supporter question that from Wesley.
Yeah, shouts to Wesley. You know, he's one of my supporters who always, you know, hits me up behind the scenes. You know, we have a lot of private banter and stuff, so he's a cool dude. But you know, he when we put out the tweet to say, you know, what the people want us to address on this episode of the co-op, he reached out to me personally, and you know, he had a question for all of us to kind of touch on. So the question he had is, given the situation with Death Stranding and now Resident Evil 3 Remake, why is an 8 or an 80% score considered horrible now? So that's the question he's had, and I know we've over the years we've had lots of discussions about review scores and how we handle them at the Koalition. So this will be a good topic to get into from our perspective. So what would you guys think about that? Why is an 8 or an 80% considered horrible?
Well, I guess I'd go first. I think people have a lot of very high standards where they see, well, if a game doesn't get like a 85, or in this case a 90 or higher, then the game is horrible, and that is a very warped way of thinking. As has been made clear, if people haven't really noticed when they visit the website now, we don't have review scores anymore on the website, because one thing I do notice, and that we've all noticed, is that whenever somebody sees a score, they instantly go to the review and look at the score. They don't bother reading any of the things that are said in the review. They also don't bother, and if this was a video review, I think it would be the same situation. They would just look for a score. They wouldn't even be listening to what the actual person covering the game is talking about. So in the case of this, though, the 8 or 80%, I just think this is just it's the world we live in now, where if you think something doesn't get like a 9 or a 10, then it's garbage. I really can't really describe that. I just think people have a warped sense of something, and I really do think people should really take the time to really play a game and judge it for their own for themselves, as opposed to looking at a score and thinking, well, that means that the game is horrible. Because even if a game got a horrible score, somebody else could probably still like that game. Let's take Death Stranding for an example. When I did that review last year, there's a lot of people read the review, they looked at the score, and they thought, well, your score is off because you said some things in the review about it might not necessarily be for everybody. But the thing that people have to understand is the whole point of that game is you are delivering packages. I was delivering stuff all of last year. So that was pretty much a side opportunity that I had. And then I started basically doing the same thing in this particular game. And most of the game is that. Now, there is a story. There's a lot more to it that makes it a hell of a lot more interesting. Combat is something that also is introduced in the game when you get to a certain period of time. But my whole point is that people, obviously, I think a lot of people knew Kojima, and that was why they was hyped for the game, because they said, well, this is a Kojima game. It can't possibly be bad in any way, shape, or form. But again, that's why I say people should really play a game to form their own opinion and not worry about what someone else is saying based on a score. If they want to see a video online of somebody playing the game and then they say, well, this looks horrible, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, but like I said, it's important for people to play the game and form their own opinion, and then stop placing so much emphasis on the score, because the score isn't always right. That's just my personal opinion. But again, it's hard for me to answer this question in full, because I don't really understand why this is how people think right now about with the whole scoring system. This is why I think the scoring system is flawed, because if somebody looks at a score and is able to determine how a game is without actually playing it, that is a problem. I mean, there's probably a lot of games people will overlook because of that, and that's unfortunate for the people who actually develop the game, and if the game actually does have some redeeming qualities. But that's just my opinion. I'm curious to hear what Ed has to say, because there's one game in particular that I know he loved when he was writing reviews for the site. Some game about some rabbit. I forget the title of the game, but he gave it like a ridiculously high score. So I'm curious to hear what Ed has to say on this topic.
Oh, that game was hell yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and Carl always gives me shit for that review. But I don't know. I felt like when I was reviewing games, I just gave the score that I felt like matched that game and my experience. But I do agree that people nowadays, they kind of just look at a number. 8, it's like, okay, like I might still buy it. But anything below an 8, I agree. To the eye, it just doesn't look appealing. Like a 7 means that I need to buy this game cheap. So I guess, people just look at numbers now. They don't really read reviews, or, they'll watch a video on YouTube and watch somebody play it and just decide for themselves. So I don't know. I'm not the type of person who reads reviews or even looks at reviews from anybody, whether it be video or written. I just kind of buy what I already have an interest in. Or if it's a new title, I kind of just do my research and figure out what kind of game this is. But, I mean, for the most part, I don't really buy games new anymore. So I feel like I don't really deal with this problem, man. If you have this problem, get Game Pass. It's $1. You open up, yourself to, like, so many games that you could play. So the answer for this question is Game Pass.
Okay. So, any other thoughts on this question?
Yeah.
Nah.
Oh, go ahead, Ant.
Or for me.
All right, I'll go. So yeah, I just think people need to, people need to readjust their thought process behind this, like, because I guess, to use an analogy, it's like, the school grading system, if you will. Like, let's say like a 90 to a 93 is like an A minus, a 93 to a 96 is like an A, and then a 97 to 100 is like A plus or whatever. Like that's what people are aiming to get. Something in that range. When they take their test or exams, like that, they're studying to hit that mark. So it's like, with games, people, if somebody's anticipating a game like Last of Us 2, they want the game that they're anticipating to hit that mark, I guess. So when they see that it doesn't, or it gets an 80 or whatever, that becomes a disappointment to them, because it didn't hit the mark that they wanted it to. But people need to just readjust their thought system there, because there are some great experiences that are 8s or 80, in that range. I've played a lot of games that might not be groundbreaking, might not be innovative, but they're still very fun experiences. So when it comes to games and art in general, you can still get a lot of joy from a game in the 80 to 89 range. So it's just the internet. It's just the way people are on the internet. Like, I don't know, but yeah, I do think it's it gets a little ridiculous when people are like flaming reviewers and things of that nature because a game didn't get a 90 or above. Especially if that person hasn't played the game, like it's a little ridiculous. So,
Well, since you brought that up, I also will add that, and that's one thing that I do find funny. Anytime that we've any of us have reviewed games on the Koalition.com and we get a game early, and then you have people who come in the comments section arguing, "Oh, you're just totally wrong about this score," when yet they haven't played the game themselves. So I find that hilarious because I remember that happened too with, I believe, when Ed reviewed Devil May Cry, their reboot. And I believe he gave it like a 90. There was a lot of people who came to the website and said, "Man, this guy is horrible. This review the score is absolutely off." And yet every single site also had a high score for this game. And these people didn't even play the game yet. So yeah, I find it funny how that reaction happens. But again, that's why, people should be encouraged to play the game for themselves and form their own opinion if it's that big of a deal to them as far as the score is concerned. But again, I agree 100% what you said, Gary. A lot of games, 80, in that 80 range, still great games, still worth playing. So people should not, place so much emphasis on the number. Actually place emphasis on the experience, and then they may actually learn that this is actually a pretty good game. But it is what it is.
And for the record, I stand by my Halo Reach Perfect 10 score.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
that is my favorite Halo game.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it was a 10, but it is my favorite Halo.
You're a hater.
All right, so any other thoughts before we move on to the final topic?
I mean, I'll just jump in really quick and just say, like, I feel like reviews have ruined games to some extent. I think reviews were fun for a little bit, but I do think the scores have ruined games for a little bit. I think now game developers are making games that rank well instead of that games that are just like fun. You know what I'm saying? And so even when you look back in the past, a lot of the games that we had the most fun with, they didn't get good rankings, yo. Like, because we weren't even looking at shit. A lot of the games I played in high school, you know, when I go back on IGN and look at like the scores for them shits, they was trash according to like IGN, but and all those other guys. But these were games that you had mad fun with, you know what I'm saying? So I think we need to move more away from that, to be honest.
I agree, and I will add that I remember that Gary very much loved 50 Cent Blood in the Sand. So and we know that wasn't no AAA game. So
that was a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. So I agree.
That's a game I've always wanted to play.
You should play it, man. It's good.
Is it on Game Pass?
I'm gonna have to get it off eBay or some shit.
Wow, Cat left when I said Blood in the Sand was 10 out of 10.
Oh yeah.
I'm offended, man.
No, he had a meeting to go to. Yep. It's all good. Yes, sir. We'll talk to you later. Awesome. Yeah, so let's move on to this last topic here, and this is probably going to be a very short topic, which is officially today, the ESA has announced that E3 is returning in 2021, and the current dates are June 15th to June 17th. Now, previously, E3 was canceled for this year due to the current events, much like a lot of other things getting canceled. So I wanted to ask both you, Ed and Gary, are you excited to hear that E3 is coming back next year, and do you plan to go?
You want me to go first?
Sure. That's cool.
Now, of course, I have a special, personal kind of attachment to E3 because it's the place where I've met some of, my best friends, I have best friends in the UK also, of course, but like, I feel there's like a special connection I have with, a lot of you guys from the US and, a lot of people that I've met there. So I enjoy going for that reason because, I get to be in that environment where everybody is kind of the same mindset, like-minded people and everything. And we've had some fun times there, a lot of memories and stuff. So I really enjoy E3 and the vibe for that reason. But also at the same time, I feel like the way that convention, like the way the event has gone the past few years, I feel like it doesn't need to be there. So we could go without E3 easily. And I say that for a few reasons. Now, one of them is, of course, companies, publishers and console manufacturers, they have the option to take the Nintendo Direct approach where they can just broadcast, their press conferences or, whatever information they want to give to the public. They can just go direct now. They can bypass the media. And that leads directly into my second point about E3. It's no longer a media event. Like, it used to be a media event where, we would attend these press conferences, we would get into these behind-the-scenes looks of games, and then, we had all the information we needed to report this information to the gamers, online, or, if you're a company that does physical media, I guess you put it in your magazine or whatever, but, we were kind of gatekeepers, who we told the public, about what we saw, and we were like the source of information basically. But now the game is completely changed, and E3 is favoring influencers. Like, so influencers now have more priority than media in most cases, and I started to witness this the last couple times I went to E3 in 2016 and 2017, and it's gotten worse since then, where companies are allowing, influencers who, and the most these influencers do is they might, stream a game on their Twitch, or, they might post something on their IG or something, like, and that's it. Like, but because they have such huge numbers, companies feel like it's more worth letting these people into the press conferences ahead of media and stuff. And that's what E3 has come to now. It's basically a big marketing campaign, like where people and it's a popularity contest as well, for the people who attend. Because the influencers walk around like they own the joint because of their popularity or whatever. And the people like us, like the small time media or whatever, we're going there to try and do work, like actual work and reporting and stuff. But these guys, they're just given access for not much at all, really. So, and also the influencers stir up trouble because there are a few incidences I heard about, in recent E3 history that were just kind of ridiculous in my opinion. And it's because, these influencers are giving so much power, and we know that we're living in sensitive times, socially and stuff. So it's like some of these people just stir up things for no reason at all. And I just don't like that environment, and that kind of soured me on the E3 experience to where I'm not even excited to go anymore because, just all the stuff I see that happens at the event now. So, in my opinion, as far as the E3 committee, it's either time to rethink what E3 is and what it represents, or, E3 should just be a series of streams from Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, and third-party publishers. Like, it should just be an online event or something, and that's it. But as far as if it comes back in 2021 and it's the exact same event as it has been in 2018 and 2019 or whatever, then that's not showing progress, in my opinion. Like, that's taking a step back. So if they are going to have this show, they need to make a lot of changes to make it worthwhile. Because I feel like as it stands now, the publishers and the console manufacturers have enough power to control their information and share it when they're ready to share it. They have everything they need. They have all their resources, and Sony even has their own event that they can return to. Of course they didn't have it last year, the PSX, but next year if they want to, they can say, oh, we're having a PlayStation experience at this time and date, and that's it. Like, that's all they need to do. And then there's other events like PAX and Tokyo Game Show, and a lot of media and people who attend those have said that the vibe at these events are much better than what it is at E3. So
yeah, I agree with pretty much everything that you had to say about that. I mean, I think this is going to be a very important year to see what happens in regards to all the partners that would have worked with E3, because we already know Microsoft and Ubisoft are going to have their own digital events at the same time that E3 normally would take place. So I think by them taking this approach, they may find, well, we actually enjoy doing this a lot better than having to work with the ESA to rent out booth space to show our games at E3. Because we already know that's an expensive cost for them. So they could save a hell of a lot more money if they just do something digitally online and find other ways to get the audience engaged in playing their games. Because, I mean, I'm pretty sure that they could release demos. All of that stuff could be done, over their own infrastructure, and the fans can have access to it, whether it's on Xbox Live or PSN or PC. So there really is no need for them to be at E3. And that's why I'm very curious to see what happens, because I personally feel with everything that's going on now, there is going to definitely be some lasting effects after this. It's not like everything is going to go back to normal after this. I'm pretty sure that there will be a lot of people that will still be hesitant to do certain things because they just don't know, and because they want to remain safe and take all the necessary precautions. But we'll see what happens. But the E3 that we went to, when I first joined the Koalition, and I know Ed as well, I think we can all agree that E3 is significantly different than how it is right now, because you have let the public in, and that's totally fine. You know, they want to make more money to let the public in. I'm totally fine with that. But they have to have this thing organized, because that first year we went there, when they let the public in, it was just in complete disarray. As far as having too many people on the floor, and that definitely was a fire hazard to have all those people in certain spaces at that period of time. So I feel like they definitely need to rethink how they want to approach this show, and be very realistic about how they want to approach it. And I think until they do that, it's just going to be the same horrible experience next year when they do decide to have it. So hopefully they are thinking about ways to make this a better experience. I can tell you right now, though, if it is a focus on influencers like it was going to be this year, you definitely won't see Jeff Keighley at this show, because that is one of the main reasons why he was not interested in doing this show, according to all of the reports that I know we saw over the last couple of weeks. So, like I said, I'm curious to see what the reaction is going to be. But either way, if I don't go to any more E3s, I will gladly go to other shows like Eurogamer, you know, all the other shows. But we'll see what happens.
Did Jeff Keighley? Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, because I was gonna talk about him too. But what was you gonna say?
I was gonna say, did Jeff Keighley actually say that influencers was like a reason? Like, did he like?
Oh no,
like that?
He made a statement about it. He didn't. He obviously he was very careful with what he said, but
right, yeah,
we know
a business industry dude.
Yeah, but we know why, you know. So,
but I feel like if he did like kind of say that but not say it, I would feel that he's kind of the person to blame for that.
You think so?
I would blame Jeff Keighley for introducing influencers into E3 or incorporating them. Because, like, how many times have we seen his little, like, E3 show, and he'll be like, oh, we're going to take it to iJustine. What the fuck? Like, come on, bro. iJustine. I mean, I know she gets views on YouTube because I see her little thumbnails every now and then, but she's not, like, a part of gaming. Like, you know, like, she's not like that. Like, she's not a journalist. And Jeff Keighley will be the type of dude to, like, throw it to Ninja.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's check in with Ninja to see the Gears of War. Like, you know, like, so I, like, he should not be blaming influencers. And you have, go ahead, because I got something else to say, but I'm going to let you say it because I'm going to segue off Jeff.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, I guess what you said is kind of true, because he does allow influencers on his platforms, but I was gonna say, like, when it gets to the point where even Jeff Keighley is like pulling out of E3, like that's how you know it's out of control, you know, like, because he is the guy, like, he's the media guy, like, he's the Drake of games media.
Drake.
Yeah, he's
so,
the guy.
So let me ask you a question. Are we going to see pictures of Jeff Keighley's son online soon?
Probably. I think
Jeff Keighley. Hold on, no, don't call him Drake. Jeff Keighley is the Stephen A. Gaming media. How about that? Yeah, the Stephen A. Smith. You know, ESPN dude.
Yeah, I know him, but.
Yeah, I would say Jeff Keighley is the Stephen A. of the gaming.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
He's media.
Yeah, I could see that. So,
I mean, if there had to be one.
So what are we? First Take or something?
We are. We're Jamil and that other dude because we're too real, so we got kicked off the station. But I was gonna say, Gary, you had mentioned influencers being a part of E3, and the last time I went to E3 was in 2014, and I know it's changed a lot. Like when I went, they didn't really allow just fans, but now they do. But when you say influencers, do you mean like what do you can you like just elaborate, like clear that up for me? Like, is it influencers that are into gaming, like a Ninja? I would say I would allow Ninja to be at E3 and do whatever the fuck he does, because at least he's in the gaming space.
Yeah,
But if it's just an influencer that's like, oh, a Shiggy, like let's say Shiggy's at E3, like, yeah, fuck Shiggy,
it's a mix. I mean, yeah, you do get your ninjas, of course, and you also get your Anita Sarkeesians and like like just big people who are popular online for specific reasons that might not always pertain to
Gaming.
gaming, or people who don't always have the best interest of video games themselves in mind, like but just because they have a popular following, they're allowed to get ahead of us. Like, let me break it down to you, Ed, because I consider that time, 2014, that was like one of the last really good E3s that I think I went to, right? Because that was me, you, Rich, Garrett, and someone I can't remember, but yeah.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, like we back in those days, we didn't have a problem getting into press conferences and appointments and other things like that, right? I mean, of course we were kind of dominated by people like IGN and stuff, like, because they would get their information first, because they actually have floor space and they have access that we don't have, right? But you can respect that because they're a media company and they've paid their dues already, right? But the next E3 I went to after that year, which was 2016, right? That was the first time I had to wait. Like, there were times I was waiting for hours to try and get into press conference, and they denied me. And then you start to see some of the other people who got in, and you're like, what? So
well, hold on. So what wasn't that for like the Metal Gear Solid game, the Konami booth? I think you and Ed went to an appointment, and you had to wait a while to get in there, or maybe it probably was a different game.
When was that?
No, we did have an issue with that where like we didn't get in at our appointment time, but we did get in afterwards. I do remember that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but like in 2000, what was it? 2016. Like, I remember, Rich, when I think it was Bethesda, where you got into that, but
oh yeah, yep.
But I was waiting outside like the whole time, and then and EA as well, like we waited.
Yep.
We turned up early, and we all had passes for that. Like, we all got accepted for it, and they didn't let us in. And then you start to see the people that they did let into it, and it's like, what? Okay.
I recall seeing some celebrities walk in there, no pass. I said, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, I do remember that, because we was, like you said, we was there early. That was literally we got. I believe we had landed and got to the hotel that same day. So I mean, and then we still couldn't get in. So that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And back in the day at E3, it's like you could get into an event even if you're not registered for it. Like, if you're media or whatever, like, you just wait around long enough, you talk to the right person, you get in. But now it's just a whole different game. And I don't want to sound like I'm salty about that or anything, because I really just don't care. But I just feel like the focus of E3 and what it represents and the atmosphere of it has suffered as a result.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I recall the last time we went to E3 with Ed. Y'all actually went to Disney after the show was over, and I think you said you enjoyed the Disney trip more than the actual E3. So, yeah,
it was Universal Studios.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, Universal Studios. Yeah. Okay, all right.
Yeah, it was Universal. I can't remember a lot of what happened at E3 that year. Was that was the new generation, right? Yeah, that was like
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yep. That was a new generation.
okay. So yeah, that was the year PlayStation 4 dropped or something on an Xbox.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Yeah. No, that was a good one. I think. Like I remember having fun that year.
Yeah, it was cool. But I mean, you started off this conversation with would I go to E3 again? The answer short is no.
Oh, whoa,
Really?
whoa.
Nah, I wouldn't because just like I mean, some for a lot of the reasons that we already mentioned, it's just different now. There's like fans now, like just people go buy a ticket. Um, and it just, I mean, if it was already kind of crowded when I went, so I can only imagine, the difference and the chaos that comes with that. Um, but to be honest, like my favorite part of going to E3 those 2 years was the press conferences.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like to me, once that Monday was over and it was time to start the show, like it was fun for a day, but I felt like in the day I saw everything I wanted to. I mean, I would have still like appointments, but it was like, okay, I really don't want to just walk around the show floor like.
Yeah.
And it's like another little just issue with E3 is that like, you're blown away by these games that you see at the press conference, but they're not on the floor. Like they're not playable.
Yep. That's that right there. You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that because yeah, that is one reason why I definitely been very disappointed with E3 because then the show like months later, like I mean the perfect example, a lot of games weren't playable at E3, but then at the show months later, I believe it's Gamescom, everything was playable. So yeah, I definitely don't like that. They didn't like that either about the
Right,
experience.
because Gamescom takes place in August typically.
Yeah.
And I remember we would go to like these, behind the scenes stuff. And shit, hold on, I'm gonna clarify that. But we would go behind the scenes to see a game or whatever, and then 2 months later, you're seeing this stuff on Gamescom. Like literally, the developer just dropped it on YouTube. Like, here's what we showed those guys, and I was like, what the fuck? I saw that behind the scenes, and now they're just uploaded it on YouTube like nothing.
Yep.
But just like I'm gonna change that up because I remember me and Rich saw Mortal Kombat X
Mm-hmm.
behind the scenes, and they showed us a fatality and all this crap, and they're making it seem like, oh, you guys are the first to see this, and I believe that was the first game we saw. That very first Tuesday when the floor opened, that was the first thing we saw. The week later, I'm back at home, and I'm trying to catch up with all the stuff that I didn't see, all the content that I didn't see from E3, and like IGN just has the whole video like uploaded like it's nothing, but yet me and Rich are told like no videos, no
Oh
don't talk
yeah.
about this, but like with IGN they could just upload that shit, a video feed.
Yeah, they have legit business deals with these companies. So, IGN, they're always gonna be like the first. Like the top sites, they're always gonna be the first to get those exclusives. So,
Right, and I'm not like salty about it, but it just kind of makes me personally, it just makes me feel like what am I gonna go for? Like I just watch that shit from home.
yeah, yeah, I feel you. Like literally, the only reason I would go is to see Rich and see you guys and everyone else, all my other friends.
Yeah.
That's
Literally the
really the
only
only.
reason I would go. Literally the only reason I would go.
Yeah, for sure.
And I wouldn't even want to be doing E3 stuff.
Yeah. Could just hang out and do something different. Like I said, y'all went to Universal Studios, and I'm pretty sure that was a fun experience.
But Crenshaw.
We need to go to Slauson, or whatever it is.
R.I.P. Nip.
Yeah, and I recall a time when we also went to what's that? What was that place in Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles?
Oh
Where
yeah.
Yep.
I think the waitress was hitting on Gary, some old woman. Yeah, I do remember. I remember that experience also. Yeah, that was fun.
I miss Roscoe's because I kind of forgot what it tastes like, but I remember liking it, so I want to go back there. The next time, like I go, I'm gonna bring my squad with me, so Carl and Ramiz are coming, and all of us are gonna hang out. So yeah, and it might happen during E3 week,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's the reason. That's the only reason I want to go back there. It's just to see people.
So I think that's what we should plan to do. If we go next year, we should only go to the conferences, and then we can just do other stuff after that. Don't even go to bother going to the show.
Yeah,
Just do other stuff in California or something else. That will be a far more enjoyable, better experience than having to go on the show floor. Especially if it's mostly public and it's not going to be organized. But we'll see about that.
yeah, cause let's be real, like that's all people care about anyway. People only care about those press conferences, and
Yeah,
that's what E3 is pretty much defined by now. And that's the reason why we don't need E3 because these companies can just do that without E3. So,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. I agree 100%. Yeah. So see what happens. But any final thoughts on this topic before we get ready to wrap up the show?
Um,
No.
Awesome. Well, I definitely want to take a moment to thank everybody for checking out today's show. Hopefully, like I said, we entertain you and this provided a nice little distraction to what all is going on right now in the world. And I hope everybody stays safe and just chill out and have a good time. So, as for shout outs, Ed, you have any shout outs that you would like to give?
Oh, my bad. I was muted.
Uh
Shout out to Fergus Mills and
oh,
Mr. Kennedy.
yes.
oh yeah, your boy Kennedy's back on Twitter, by the way. I need to
Yeah,
send.
I got him. I followed him.
Okay. Yeah,
Awesome.
shouts to Kennedy, man.
Yeah, so I'll go next. Yeah, I want to also give a shout out to Mr. Kennedy, give a shout out to Mills. I want to give a shout out to Adam as well as Dana. Wish Dana happy birthday because today is her birthday. Um, Shout out to Mr. Torrance Davis, who actually just posted up an awesome article on the website right now about arcades. Definitely check that out. It's a great read. Shout out to everyone else at the Koalition, Tony, the whole Throwdown crew, um, Anthony Nash, and of course you guys. Shout out to you, Gary. Shout out to you, Ed, and as well as Carl and Ramis. Yeah, and definitely thank everybody for listening. And Gary, the floor is now yours for shout outs.
Yeah, so I want to give a big thanks to all of our loyal supporters. M. Collins, Mauricio Aguilar, sorry Ed, Himdil, Fergus Mills, Miguel, Antonio Rogers, and Wesley as well. So yeah, big shouts to those guys for their continued support of the coalition and what we do and everything. These guys have continuously donated to the cause and everything. So big shouts to them, big salute. And also shouts to the team. Definitely check out Torrance's article. It's a good read. It made me like wanna go back in time and experience the arcades because I did experience arcades in the 90s and everything, but I have a feeling it would have been a lot more special back in the late 70s and early 80s and stuff, so definitely check out that article. Happy birthday to Dana, and big shout outs to the current team and everything that's consistently putting out content. Adam Vale, Brian Williams, and the whole Throwdown team and everything. Big shouts to all you guys and everyone who's on the show today. I want to thank Anthony Frasier. He's a very, very busy guy, so him being able to still come back and talk on the co-op is a big deal and everything. And big shouts to Ed as well. And I just want to say to everyone, this is the time to be positive, and be happy and treat people with respect. There's no reason to be angry and hold on to negativity in these times, because we're all going through something together. So definitely show appreciation to the people that matter to you.
Agree 100%. Yes.
But also, shout out to the haters.
Yeah, shout outs to the haters too. Keep hating. I'm
yes,
sure.
and no, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Now let me shut up.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, and I won't shut up. Shout out to the haters, because they are the ones that need the most prayer. So don't worry. I'll make sure I say a prayer for all of y'all. Yeah. But that's it for right now. Thank you all for listening, and we will talk to you all next time.